when I ask on Twitter in a poll, hey, what's holding you back from doing something more long-term on Amazon or anywhere else?
Sure.
Access to capital is always the number one.
Yeah.
And I always go in the spiel about, like, while you're watching TV, you could be driving DoorDash, you could be doing Uber Eats. Like, you have opportunities to make more money. Access to capital should never be the thing that holds you back. In this day and age, access to knowledge should never be the thing that holds you back.
YouTube.
But a lot of people allow those two things to hold them back. I ran a poll last week. It was like 80% of the results of people that don't have a brand that want to build a brand are saying that either access to capital or access to knowledge is what's holding them back. I'm like, the gig economy and YouTube, how can either of those, like, so you don't actually want what you say you want, otherwise you would
You want
have
it
it
handed
if that's
to
what's
you.
holding you back. You want to hand it to you. You want someone to do it for you.
You said what, 15, 20 grand or probably what you'd say to launch a brand.
30K is my like perfect
That's
number.
a good
to
number.
get
So let's
started.
just say this will probably take me around 15 or 20. And it depends on obviously with ads and stuff like that too. But
And I include in that 30K the second reorder, which will be larger. And that's why I say 30.
Okay, that makes more
Because people think
sense.
about the first. To get it started, yes.
Sure.
Yeah.
But in my eyes, you have that money. Like I've seen, again, it kind of goes back to my buddy. He bought a Rolex, right? He has $12,000 on the wrist. I'm like, it's inventory. So it's like, it's just, I don't know. It's just prioritizing. Like to me, if I can hold off by buying a Rolex or doing this certain thing or buying a nicer car, whatever it is, and it could turn in 3 years to a business that could sell for $2, $3, $4 million bucks, or even continue to sell and continue to grow this brand into, $400,000, $500,000 a month, I would look at myself and be like, you're an idiot for not using that money. And when you're young, I think that's another thing. People always, even if they're young, they're like, oh, I got a lot of time. It's like, yeah, you do. But then take all the time now to be like the fuck up. So by 30, you're like, you're set.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. I think I always talk about how saving is the prerequisite to business, because people think that the hard part about growing and scaling a business is, oh, I don't have any knowledge about how to grow and scale a business. Like, no. The thing that always holds you back is capital. If you had more capital, you could go hire someone that knows how to do what you don't know how to do, and then you can scale your business that way. Capital is always what holds us back. So saving is the prerequisite to business growth for someone who's just getting started.
Yep.
That knowledge doesn't matter as much as you showing that you're able to actually take the money that you've earned and save some of it. I go back and think through being 14 years old. I remember my two brothers and I, we had, we called it RCCS services, but it was our lawn care business. Everyone has a little entrepreneurial
LLC,
story.
yep.
We moved to a new neighborhood in Virginia, and we started a lawn care company, and we had 14 customers. And over the course of that summer, I think we were charging $20 per week to people to come cut their grass. And we all have terrible allergies, so we're out there suffering, but we had our uniforms on, the little yellow shirts and the khaki shorts, and we'd walk around the neighborhood and we would get more and more customers. Stopped at 14, and I remember going back at the end of the summer and saying, man, we made $5,000 this summer cutting grass. Where's it at?
You spent it on.
We didn't have any of it left.
Yeah.
$5,000, and this is at 14 years old.
Yeah,
So
that's
we're
a ton
talking
of
about
money.
this is 2003 when this is happening. $5,000 is a lot of money if you're putting that to work to do something with it at 14, and you get compound interest on that inside of the business you're growing, whether you're doing a product or anything else, or we're reinvesting back in the business to grow it more. But we had no idea where it was, because I know where we spent it: 7-Eleven, McDonald's,
little
like fast
things.
food, the dollar store.
Yeah.
And there was no semblance in our minds of, let's save this to build something. Now, we can blame our parents for not being great with money, and that's the reason that we weren't great with money.
Yeah.
But it's also, we just had a spending problem. We either weren't taught to save, or we just didn't want to save. We weren't thinking about the future and understanding that that could be seed capital for something huge in the future.
And
How many people are like that, who aren't even thinking about saving? Because you were a saver. Was it because you wanted to save, or because your parents taught you to save?
my mom made money her entire life and never showed it. Like, was no crazy cars, no crazy clothes, like skincare. She loves skincare. That's where she will spend. If she sees this, Mom, you spend $10,000 a year on skincare. I know you do. But like, she has great skin. But anyway,
We'll send her some.
that's what she's.
Hasn't aged a day since 30, right?
She looks great. But that's what, like, I think I always saw it was like, I was always into it. I'm like, Mom, like a Lamborghini one day. She's like, cool. I'm like, would you think that's cool? She's like, no. I would like, what if I got you a Rolex? She's like, I'd put it in my box. I wouldn't wear it. I'm like, so I don't know. She and my grandpa specifically, who ran his own business, was a printing company back in like 19, whatever it was, obviously like 1925, 35, whatever it was. But he was literally running this business. And I always thought, I was like, oh, he must have done okay like that. And my mom's like, no, he was like a millionaire, but I never knew.
Yeah.
So I was like, oh, so like, you don't need to like show it. And he was the nicest guy ever. He was the hardest working guy ever. I don't know. I think it's just like nature versus nurture. Like my environment was like not surrounded by money. My parents did well, but they didn't show it. We didn't drive a Mercedes. We didn't drive a Benz or anything like that. It was just kind of like, we'd rather be free, never worry about bills, never worry about if we want to take a family vacation, than, you know, spend the money and then have to think, what's the rest of my income looking like?
So you say most of it's nurture?
I think
for
so.
you, that you just grew up in that
just comes
environment.
with like your environment. Like again,
that's fascinating.
It might be where the opposite, where your parents are really bad with money and you realize that, and that also changes your mindset. And you're like, dad's not great with saving money. I should probably be a little bit better.
Yeah.
And like, I guess one like example, I was thinking about this today, is like why I always was saving money is like, also my family when I was younger, we had kind of like a downturn, and like my dad was running his own business and things were a little bit tight. And I remember I was like one time saying to my sister, like, well, I want to get this new backpack. I want to get this new backpack so bad. And I heard my mom being like to my dad, like, we can't afford that right now. And that was it. My brain was like, don't ask for anything right now.
Yeah.
For like a long time.
Yeah.
And even when we were better, I was like, don't ask for anything. Get it yourself.
Yeah.
But don't ask for anything. So
it's so fascinating, man. Because it's
think weird, right?
There's a couple different types of people that I think can make it. There's those who have the foresight and knowledge to save, and whatever it is that happened in the childhood that got them to that point where they actually saved.
Yeah.
I talked to my twin brother a lot about the second type of people, because that's more of like what he and I are. We are not good savers. We're big spenders. I'd say we both have a spending problem. But the thing that has distinguished us from the rest of the people who have spending problems is that our income has soared disparately compared to those who have not. And so if you have a spending problem, but you have a way to increase your income massively, then you don't really have a spending problem anymore.
If you can make more money better than saving more money, I think, like, again, if somebody says like, oh, I got a 2% raise at work, it's like, great, but like, I'm going to save all that, keep going. It's like, what if you could find another way to make $500 a week?
Yeah.
Selling stuff like Gary Vee does. Like, obviously there's different ways of doing it, but it's easier, I think, to make more money than it is to save more money. Because when you save, you have to change your whole life.
Yeah.
If you want to make a little bit more money, it might literally be you picking up a shift somewhere or whatever it might be. Obviously, it's selling something on Amazon. But I think I agree with you. You could spend money when you're actually making the money as well.
Yeah.
You think in the gig economy today, like I've articulated DoorDash, Uber Eats, like there's hustle money out there to be made. For anyone who's saying $10,000 is keeping me from my goals, would you just call that person lazy?
No, I wouldn't call them lazy. I mean, it's a lot of money, like $10,000 to $30,000 if you want to run it. It's a lot of money. I'm very blessed that I have a job where I feel financially free enough that I can take some of my money and put it there and still not worry about all my day to day.
Yeah.
So I'm in a boat where I wouldn't say I'm like the average person where they're like, hey, this might go all my money. It might be all risk. I also obviously save some money in the beginning, but I don't think it's lazy. I think it's just changing your mindset. Like, again, $10,000, like you said, you spent $5,000 in a summer on pizza and chocolate and buying
Slurpees,
maybe
bro.
whatever it
Slurpees.
might be. Whatever it might be. Like, I have definitely like cooked more at home. Like, I've definitely, held back on certain trips and vacations. Like, because I've thought to myself, like, I literally see my bank account and I'm like, that's 3 products, 4 products, 5 products. I'm like, that is where it could be. And if I do this right, that could be, like you said, I'm spending. I have a spending issue. But I have a spending issue on this. I don't have a spending issue on this or like this or on this. I have a spending issue with this, where I literally will spend $30,000 and be like, cool, good for me. I'm like, I really like spending that money because I know it can come back. Okay. If you have a spending issue on stuff that's never going to come back, like, could be a trip, which as much as I want to go on a trip, I know that money's just gone.
Yeah.
That money's just allocated to something that if it went up to zero. So I don't know where I was going with it, but basically, I think it's not you're lazy. I think it's just your mindset.
Yeah.
What is going to be where your money is at?
Let me just push on that, because the people that are saying it's 10K keeping me from where I want to be, whether it's a brand or anything else, if you find out that person's watching 2 hours of TV at nighttime, I think that would make them considerably lazy in this day and age, knowing what you could have been doing with that 2 hours of time instead, allowing the 10K to be a crutch of why you're not going for your dreams, instead of being real with yourself and saying, I need $10,000 to get started, but I'm not actually willing to do what it takes to get that $10,000. So I only have myself to blame. Is that fair?
It feels like fitness goals we were talking about. Like
Oh,
people who've
yeah.
got the fitness goals, but like, why aren't you taking a walk instead of watching the show? Why aren't you, it's similar with
what did somebody say the other day?
Yeah.
If somebody says always, they're like, oh, like when I make $100,000 a year, I'll save $25,000 a year. It's like, how about when you make $25,000 a year, you save $3,000 a year?
Yeah.
If you won't save money then, you're not going to save money after.
100%.
Yeah.
It comes out to you learning how to do it early. Like when I was a kid, my mom told me, she was like, we're getting new floors. There's nails all over the floor. Like, we're going to have everybody pull them out. It's going to take like $500. Like, I'll do it for $350. So I literally got on the floor. I remember it was like 7 a.m. I was like, I need to be done by 7 p.m. So I just popped them all out. And by the end, she gave me $350 in cash and I put it in my wallet. I had like $3,000 at like 9. I'm like, all right, you know what? I got some money. I'm not touching it. But I think I was saving up for a car. And then eventually I thought to myself, why would I do that?
Yeah.
But I think that's what the mindset is. It's just like, save your money when you have it. Like, find out your expenses. I was very bad at that.
Okay.
I was very bad at knowing my expenses. I've always like, oh, I have money, but like I didn't know it to a dollar.
Yeah.
Now I know it to a dollar. If I spend, $200 on a dinner, I'm like, nope, that's the $2,000 minus that $200. Okay, I have $1,800 this month to spend on fun, if you will. If you know that, like, you also just feel like stress relief. Like, everything I do, if I had to give young guys any advice, I was talking to this guy yesterday at work. He's like, how do you save money? You seem like you're pretty good with money. I'm like, I know how much is coming out of my bank account every month to stocks, to my 401k, to this, to that, to this, to that. So everything in my checking account, if it went away to zero tomorrow, I'd be fine.
Yeah.
So I think it's just kind of compartmentalizing all that type of stuff and knowing where your money's going.